Global Conference in 2023. Over 740 participants came together, and this year we have more than 1,000 registered, and maybe some of them still outside FAO because they still have a long queue to come here. I'm so sorry about this. But anyway, next 2 weeks, when we finish our Director General mentions, now we have a lot of change in our building. When we have the new facility, we will do faster, we will do better, we will welcome you better than before. And that's why during the 2023 is a foundation for all of us to look ahead what we're going to do more for the future. And also when you're talking about sustainability, we need to have a right balance. And even though every country must walk its own journey and guided by people and also their priorities and realities. As Director General mentioned as well during his talk, we're talking about balance and rebalance. And even though many ministers, honorable ministers already mentioned, it's different. The production system in Northern Hemisphere is different from Southern Hemisphere, from the East and West is different. And that's why we have a different priority, we have a different need, and we have a different focus. Last time, we talked about Sustainable Livestock Transformation Initiative. And we also look forward that all of us are united by one vision, livestock sectors that deliver food, share benefits equitably, and protect our environment while using natural resources wisely, sustainably. And last time, we presented you our roadmap to success with 5 pillars. We still continue to work on these 5 pillars together, but we need to translate from roadmap, from these pillars into actions from different sectors, different countries, different stakeholders. Each of us have a duty. Each of us have responsibility. How we're going to generate data and evidence-based narrative. How we will have a new narrative, science-based, evidence-based narrative around sustainable livestock. How we're going to identify and promote the adoptions of tailored or context-specific innovation and good practices. And that's why during this week, it's not only Sustainable Livestock Transformation Global Conference, but we also bring all innovation, innovators, researchers, young scientists to share their innovation, new idea with us. And even though once you have times, you also can visit the exhibition. Many more innovation, many more good practices are sharing today. And we also will continue to facilitate how to have a better design for implementation of responsible policies and investment, and to foster partnership, cooperation, and apply a holistic approach, integrating multiple sustainability dimensions. Even though last week in New York, one of speakers talked about fake news. Fake news can bring conflicts, national instability, misunderstanding. But fake news is more than noise. It is an information disorders, information distortion with real consequences to our farmers, consumers, and society. But we need to listen carefully to all voices. But we need to take action to improve ourselves, to produce better, to do better. During the past 2 years, new report, new narrative about contributions. One of the report that we have, the contribution of terrestrial animal source food for healthy diets for improved nutrition and health outcome was launched. During that time, my colleagues reported to me more than 200 million people engaged to this report. And when I visited one country, the minister told me that I already have this version of my local language because I need to report to the parliament about the importance of animal source food for nutrition and health outcome. We know that even though the pathway toward lower emissions, one of the report, as I told you, when we have a report about emission, about livestock, it's always come with strong reactions from outside. But we need to make sure that we can continue to produce more, but it's not enough. Only FAO, not enough. All of you also need to build narrative, share your information, and continue to communicate and advocate about livestock sector, sustainable livestock production. It's not the role of FAO only, but everyone's responsibility, and it's our joint responsibility. And you can see that when we launched the report on contribution of terrestrial animals for healthy diets, my colleague from the Division of Communication reported to me as well, wow, it's the first, it's not really very usual that all the big newspapers report about FAO work. This one of those. However, good news does not come often. And for decades, livestock sector has been criticized. And that's why today we have to change to rewrite our story, our narrative, and livestock as a force for food security, nutrition, climate solutions, and sustainable future. But we need to write together. We need to rewrite together because you are the one who really write the new chapter by yourself. And during the past 2 years, FAO continue to work to make sure that we can bring all the data because all the members, 194 member countries of FAO reported about your data on livestock, on agriculture. But we also need to make sure that all the data is useful for all of you, for further analysis, for further policy development, policy guidance. And that's why all the work we continue to make sure that all data will be used and translate into actions and also become the narrative. And especially one of those is about global livestock environmental assessment model, GLIM. And during the last 2 years, FAO also introduced the 5G farm innovation and good practices. What does it mean by 5G farm? Good production practices, good animal husbandry practices, good incentive, good health service, good alternative, and good connections. I know that in many countries you have your own system. You have different good agricultural practice or whatever you call in your language. But we know that these kind of good practices aim to produce better, produce more with less impact. And we know that today we also need innovation. With better innovation, we can achieve better productivities, better productions, and producing more with less impact for healthier people and a healthier planet. And that's why many of you who are develop innovation technologies come and share, come and work with us, and we can produce better as FAO for better. Even though during the years, you know that the issue of antimicrobial resistance is a global threat. And that's why last year, FAO launched the 10-year global initiative to reduce the need for antimicrobials on farm to drive sustainable agri-food transformation, called RenoFarm. Even though we also strengthen the AMR surveillance through in-farm system. If you are not the members, you are not a part of this initiative, please join us. Please talk with my FAO colleagues and join this initiative. And over the past years, we know that the issue of transboundary animal disease, zoonotic diseases, even though the pandemic is a threat. And you can see that the disease mapping is everywhere. Foot and mouth disease, African swine fever, the pestis ruminal, lumpy skin disease, New World screwworm, and others that have an impact to the livestock production. But we need innovation in tackling with these animal disease if we want to do better. And even though in terms of the work on the designs of and implementation of responsible policies, we continue to make sure that we have a global strategies and guidance and translate it into action, and also to have a strong partnership and collaboration, and to make sure that all policy action plan really make real action on ground. And during the year, FAO, you come here is not only for the meeting in this room or other room in FAO, but FAO also working with you, with our partners, to increase investments at the country level and to support the countries based on your need. And you decide with us. Over the years, last year, more than 346 FAO projects in 80 countries around the world with the total budget of 280 million. And even though through others, fundings like pandemic funds, with Green Climate Fund, GCF, and also Global Environmental Facility, we continue. Even though the FAO investment centers together with World Bank also can bring more investment. And that's why with innovation and investment, we can reduce inequalities, improve production, and create opportunity. And that's why we will continue to work with you and build stronger partnership and collaboration with all of you. And to make sure that we also look at the holistic approach, how the livestock sectors can support sustainable development goal and also the for better. What is to come next? After these years, after this conference, at the end of the year, we will have COP30. And I'm sure that one of the issues we'll talk about livestock emission. And next year, 2026, we will have the International Year of Rangelands and Pastoralists, and also International Year of Women Farmers. And then next year, the early of 2026, we will discuss about the Global Plan of Action for Sustainable Livestock Transformation. And after that, the COAC Subcommittee on Livestock in June will endorse the Global Plan of Actions. And by the end of the year, in September, we are expecting that the United Nations General Assembly will endorse the International Year of Milk or World Milk Day. And even though we would like to highlight some of you about One Health in Agri-Food System, how it, in reality and practicality. And that's why our joint effort to provide safe, nutritious, and healthy diets for healthier people and contribute to a healthier planet. We still have many things to do. how to shift the narrative, how to increase innovation and investment, how to boost the productivity, productions through sustainability, and also how to build inclusive economic opportunity. But at the same time, we also need to make sure that we reduce all the negative impact, how to reduce or increase inequality, cutting pressures on land, waters, and natural resources, reduce emissions, as we have heard a lot, and also to lower risk to public health, reduce burdens of transboundary animal disease and AMR. And that's why, thank you again for your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kantanawat. We're now going to broaden the lens a little bit and bringing in international and regional perspectives from some of the largest food and agricultural organizations around the world. Now, I'd like to ask our panelists to join me on stage and take their seats. And in the interest of fairness, I'm going to introduce them in the alphabetical order of their names. We have Baba Soumare, Deputy Director General of the World Organization for Animal Health, WOAH, in France. We have Fauzia Chakiri, Head of Food Security Division at Arab Maghreb Union in Morocco. Huyam Saleh, Director of African Union Inter-African Bureau for Animal Resources in Kenya. Please come on stage. Lloyd Day, Deputy Director General of Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture in Costa Rica. And last but definitely not the least, Siboniso Moyo, Deputy Director General for Partnerships and Impact at International Livelihood Research Institute in Kenya. Please, just anyway, yes. Yeah. Great. Please take a seat. Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us here. And it's great to have, for the first panel, great to have people with such knowledge and experience. And I am aware that this panel is standing between you and the lunch break, but I promise you that it will be interesting. Now, Bonnie, actually, just to explain a little bit, we have about an hour for this panel discussion, and we just want to do perhaps maybe 2 rounds of questions, and then we'll open it for the floor very briefly for comments, interventions, and reflections. And for the first round, I want to start the discussion from the global to regional. And Bonnie, I would like to start with you, given that ILRI has been working on research-driven innovations and solutions around livestock systems for a very long time, particularly in Africa. Could you perhaps share some of ILRI's, most recent research-driven solutions when it comes to sustainable livestock transformation?
Thank you very much, moderator. It is indeed a privilege and honor to be part of this distinguished panel this morning. I'm delighted to share about ILRI's work. At ILRI, we undertake research for development that leads to practical change for farmers. We work from the laboratory through to the field, coming up with solutions and innovations that really address farmers' challenges. We also work on animal health, on genetics, on nutrition, also looking at inclusive and equitable value chains. We also come up with practical livestock environment solutions working across Africa and Asia. For today's discussion, I would like to bring 2 examples from animal health and from breeding. I would like to start with a viral disease that devastates goats and sheep. This is PPR. We've been doing work in Mali together with our partners, including the Central Veterinary Laboratory of Mali and Hester Biosciences, to deploy and validate a thermotolerant PPR vaccine. This vaccine, ladies and gentlemen, stays potent for 9 days at 39 degrees centigrade, and it can go for a week at 40 degrees. This is really innovation and addressing a real change of a disease that devastates goats and sheep in this region. What does this mean? It means that vaccinators can now reach remote areas without fear of this vaccine losing potency. And our field testing in Mali has also showed that this reduces wastage, it lowers logistics challenges, and allows vaccinators to cover many communities in a single campaign without worrying about the cold chain. My second example touches on what Margaret from Kenya touched on, that is the dairy sector, a sector that is really offers a transformative opportunity. I would like to share about the African Dairy Genetic Gains Program. This is a program that focuses on data-driven decision-making. It is innovative in that this data-driven initiative is designed to improve dairy productivity and dairy profitability in low and middle income countries. Why is it important? It's that this has been applied in large-scale commercial farms, but this innovation offers opportunities for the smallholder farmers. So what is at the heart of the African Dairy Genetic Gains Program is that it is a centralized data platform hosted by ILRI. It provides countries with digital tools that collect farmer-level data and national databases to support better breeding, feeding, and health interventions. I'm sure Margaret, from her story this morning, she would really be a beneficial of this effort. And ADDG marks a shift in dairy genetic improvement for low input systems as it uses performance data and genomic information from smallholder farmers to drive continuous genetic gains, targeting a 2% annual increase in productivity. And this information, as I said, was previously available to large-scale commercial farms. But now, smallholders can actually enter data and get feedback from the central platform to make informed decisions. This, while piloted in Kenya, Ethiopia, and Tanzania, is now offering an opportunity to expand to Nepal, Uganda, Rwanda, and Nigeria. And currently we have over 2 million cows registered on this platform, affording opportunity to more than 250,000 farmers. I think these are the two examples. One, PPR in animal health, and African Dairy Genetic Gains for the dairy sector, data-driven decision-making for smallholder farmers. I thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Bonnie. That's really interesting. And thanks for giving two very tangible examples specifically for smallholder farmers, which, who are essentially part of the bigger agricultural workforce and livestock production in the developing countries. So it's really interesting to hear. I'd like to move on to another global institution, BABA. We all know that animal health is key to sustainable livestock transformation, right? And your organization for over a century has been the global standard setting authority when it comes to animal health and welfare. We've heard a lot about this morning about, science-led and evidence-based. And as an organization that, does these international standards, how do you make sure that they are relevant, they are still science-based and adapted, given the needs of your members? And you have 183 members, so that's a lot.
Thank you, Chair. If you allow me, I would like first, on behalf of the Director General of the World Animal Health Organization, Dr. Emmanuel Soubera, who, by the way, is sending her greetings here and her wish for a successful meeting. So on her behalf, on my behalf, and that of my team here, we would like to sincerely thank FAO for inviting our contributions. This morning, I listened to with great interest the FAO Director General list some of the very important roles and functions of livestock. be it for food security, being for protection of public health, being for economic stability, etc., etc. But I would like to say that, Excellence, dear representative, that none of that would happen without a sustainable animal health. We cannot achieve livestock transformation without healthy animals and safe trade in animals and animal products. And this is why, as United Nations, if you are celebrating the 80th anniversary, WAHA just completed a decade of commitment and action as the global authority on animal health. By setting science-based standards, by fostering transparent sharing and access of information on animal disease, by strengthening veterinary services, and by fostering collaboration and partnership. To your point, indeed, WAHA international standards are strategic tools that allow countries and managers to reduce risk while enabling trade and sustainable development. To ensure that the standards, the international, are fit for purpose, we indeed pay critical attention that they are based on evidence and that they are based on the latest scientific knowledge with input from world-leading reference centers and experts. We're ensuring an inclusive and consultative process throughout, with our members reviewing and endorsing and ensuring that all voices are heard, both those from low resource areas but also high-tech countries. We make sure that they are reviewed and updated to incorporate latest scientific evidence, but also emerging challenges such as climate change, such as emerging threats. And I want quickly to pick an example. For those of you who attended the last general session of WAHA, as you know, we're living in strange times with a lot of misinformation and disinformation, and that doesn't leave out also our areas. There have been a lot of vaccinoscepticism. So WAHA once again create the space for its members to come together to discuss how to reposition vaccination at the center of sustainable disease control, while ensuring that vaccinated animals can still be traded. So just to say again, Madam Facilitator, that those standards are lively and incorporating emerging challenges. My last point, we go further than just setting standards. We play a role as an enabler. We accompany our members. We build their capacity. Following the PVS, we work with our members and partners to provide target support so that they're able to implement recommendations to optimize the potential of their livestock. I stop here.
Great, thank you, Baba. I think it's worth, reiterating the point that you make, which is that sustainable livestock health is a prerequisite if we want to achieve sustainable livestock transformation. We're going to move to the regional perspectives. Rian, 2 years ago, during the first global conference on sustainable livestock transformation, your organization emphasized the needs for stronger, regional frameworks. Given your expertise and your experience, can you perhaps tell us what progress has been made in advancing these, regional cooperation frameworks, and how is your organization helping members to achieve that?
Thank you so much. Is it working?
Yes, I think you just need to speak closer. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the question. And let me start first by congratulating FAO for convening the second conference for transformation, for livestock transformation. From the African Union perspective, AU-IBAR, or the African Union Inter-African Bureau for Animal Resources, as a specialized technical office under the Department of Agriculture, Rural Development, Blue Economy and Sustainable Environment. Since 2023, the main achievement that I want to highlight here is the contribution of AU-IBAR for the formulation of the CADP, the Comprehensive African Agriculture Development Program. This 10 years CADP 2026 up to 2035, AU-IBAR has played a fundamental role, bringing all the partners together to put the strategy for the agri-food systems and putting the livestock in the center of this strategy. So this is something that we are celebrating it at AU-IBAR to have it at the continental level, and we are so glad for our African Union member states putting this to approval and to implementation from next year. So guided by this CADP and also to realize Agenda 2063, the Africa we want, AU-IBAR is also setting strategies and policy frameworks in the different aspects where we are working. We are working into three fundamental thematic areas. The first one is the sustainable livestock production, and also the animal health and animal welfare. And we are supporting the compliance with SPS to ensure economic trade and marketing in compliance with international standards and also continental standards. So under the animal health, the flagship program that we are now implementing is the eradication of the PPR from the continent. And we are doing this under the support of the European Union in collaboration with FAO and the World Organization for Animal Health. We have launched this project or program in the beginning of this year, February, and we are in the first phase of coordinating the efforts through the regional economic communities in sub-Saharan Africa. Again, we have different actions already in implementation. We are supporting continental strategies for transboundary animal diseases, for controlling them, starting with the PPR already in place and being implemented. And then we have the African animal trypanosomiasis, the rabies elimination. Both of them will be submitted to our African Union STC, Specialized Technical Committee, this year for endorsement. We had already the African swine fever continental strategy in place, and we are collaborating with the FAO for the implementation. We're also working under the One Health sector, where we are rolling this year the African Union Digital One Health platform for Africa for sharing, analysis, and also modeling One Health data. Coming to the sustainable livestock and production, we are pushing towards two main projects. One of them is ensuring resilient animal feed and fodder systems in the continent. And the second one is to engaging more private sector and ensure marketing of the pastoral development in the continent. Within the economic trade and marketing, we are supporting member states to make sure that we have the compliance with the SPS measures. And the main issue IBAR also is doing is convening the African Union member states for common position in global fora. We need the voice for One Africa, and one of our recent projects is supporting the livestock systems considering the climate change effects. More adaptation, more resilience, and also putting the case for Africa. Livestock for Africa is not just means for food, but it's also one of the fundamental social fabrics that we need to support. It's a livelihood for 70% of the African people. So let me stop here and thank you.
Thank you very much, Ian. I do have a question, but for the next round that we'll talk about the future and the climate resilience as well. But Lloyd, I want to turn to you now because I want to talk about the Americas, where your organization, again, has been working on these issues, but with the particular focus also on trade and innovation and resilience, right? Can you talk about again about some of the recent and tangible progress that has been made in your region, and if possible, maybe also touch on this delicate balance that you have to meet, right, between productivity, climate resilience, environmental sustainability, and market access. These are all the things that the previous speakers have mentioned as some of the key things. So it would be great if you could also touch on how you're helping countries to meet this challenge.
Well, thank you very much for the question, then, and I also bring the greetings of our Director General, Manuel Otero, who's from the country of Argentina, a small livestock producer in the southern cone of the Americas. ICA represents the Ministers of Agriculture of the Americas. I see in front of me the Vice Minister from Guatemala. It's nice to see you again. It's a very heterogeneous region. So as often said in international negotiations, and I believe said by the Australian minister earlier, no one size fits all. But there are certain elements of sustainable livestock that are being implemented across this vast region. So maybe just focusing a little bit on Latin America, the contribution of livestock is 46% of the agricultural output of the region. So it's enormous. It represents 35% of the world's exports of beef to the world. So if you're eating beef around the world, you have to be thankful for the Americas, at least 1/3 of your consumption. And 60% of production of livestock comes from what are defined as small producers. So focusing on small producers is very important, 86% in Central America. So the importance of the sector cannot be underestimated. But now to focus on some tangible progress towards sustainable livestock, let me just offer a couple of the 34 countries. In partnering with the Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB, we have developed a platform to promote a shared vision of sustainable livestock in the Mercosur to analyze productive systems and define a regional plan of action. There is a lot of activity in every country, but there has not been a systematization of the region. We've done that now online, and it's analyzing actions in the Southern Cone based on 4 major factors, kind of like your 5 pillars, Tanawat. These are balance of carbon, water resources, biodiversity, and animal welfare. These are all based on 14 selected indicators that make up common sustainability frameworks like the Dairy Sustainable Framework. I see Brian over there with a translator on. I speak with an American accent. He's from Australia, so there might be some trouble in the interpretation. The vision of this platform is to develop a regional mechanism that can promote and facilitate collective action and improve sustainability. The goal of working with the IDB is to do this from south to north in the Mercosur up to North America. Also in the south, working with the Consorcio Lechero de Chile, we have implemented dairy sustainability standards applicable to the certification of dairy operations. The main objective of this is to promote better economic, social, and environmentally sustainable management of the dairy sector, and this will serve as a model for the rest of the Americas. Now, as Tanawat was saying, we're all kind of on the road to Belém, Brazil, and the COP30 right now. So last month in Peru, our executive committee of our member states gathered to approve an important statement related to livestock. And this covered 5 important aspects that just about anybody involved in livestock will agree upon. The folks outside that maybe held up the line a little bit may not agree. But this is the need for safe, nutritious, and traceable foods of animal origin. The commitment to the continuous implementation of science-based livestock technology and practice, like my colleague from the OIE mentioned. I still call it the OIE, I'm sorry. It changed every couple of years, and so it's tough. The importance of pasture management and its meaningful contribution to environmental benefits, and next year is the year of pasture, I believe. The role of economic development and trade. As I said, we export 1/3 of our agricultural products from the Americas, and about more than that of beef. And of course, the importance of livestock health. Healthy animals are part of the foundation of a sustainable and productive livestock sector. Recognizing this, the need to strengthen health and SPS services and placing animal disease control and veterinary public health issues at the top of the technical and policy agendas of our member states is paramount to ensure adequate resources for responding to threats. Tanawat showed the map of diseases that are affecting us. In the Americas, we are coping right now with the reintroduction of New World screwworm, Gusano baranador, in Spanish in Central America and Mexico. We've been working closely with Mexico, supporting the strengthening of border and transit controls, and additionally, in partnership with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, we've been strengthening sanitary education and risk communication for the control and eradication of New World screwworm in Mesoamerica. We, as many of you know, have had an outbreak of African swine fever in the Dominican Republic and Haiti. And since then, we've been working closely again with the Department of Agriculture of the United States and other partners to support ASF control and eradication measures in the island. Avian influenza is everywhere, and we need to discuss how we can use science to keep trade flowing in this important sector. The issue of vaccines is something that has been quite controversial on the issue of that, but we've seen the increase in pricing of eggs and poultry due to the depopulation of so many birds. And as an alumni of the BSE outbreak in the United States on December 23rd, 2003, I remember it well, I'm all too familiar with the economic and health impact of such disease. And so I think it's very important that we discuss the importance of controlling and treating such outbreaks based on science so we can reinitiate trade and not use that as a barrier to the trade of meat and meat products and products of animal source. So with that, I'll stop there, Thin.
Thank you very much, Lloyd. It's really interesting to hear just the sheer scale of livestock productivity from, the Americas that affects the rest of the world, and as well as the challenges and progresses you've made. Fauzia, last but definitely not the least for the first round of questions. Now, at the 2023 conference, one of the things that the speakers emphasized was also the importance of livestock for food security in the Maghreb region. Could you, again, like the other speakers, perhaps talk about the progress that have been made in your region in terms of improving sustainable livestock transformation while also tackling food security?
Merci beaucoup. Je crois que je vais vous donner le temps pour vous mettre vos casques. Je vais essayer de répondre en français. Donc, tout d'abord, je vous remercie pour l'invitation et pour avoir permis nous avoir permis, en tant que région, à faire partie de cette réflexion. Je voudrais aussi remercier la FAO et les différents partenaires pour tous les efforts déployés pour le développement de l'élevage et sa transformation durable. Au fait, l'élevage pour la région du Maghreb, c'est plus qu'un secteur économique comme tous les autres. C'est un secteur un peu particulier. Il a une double importance de par sa contribution au PIB des différents pays et aussi comme source d'emploi et trésorerie pour le monde rural. Et donc, conscient de cette importance, et surtout depuis 2023, les États membres de l'Union de Maghreb arabe ont redoublé les efforts pour transformer durablement leur système d'élevage afin de répondre à un double effet, à un double défi, qui est la résilience face à la sécheresse qui est devenue récurrente et à la sécurité alimentaire régionale. Donc, pour parler un peu des différentes réalisations faites au niveau de nos pays, si on prend par exemple au Maroc, la stratégie Génération Green, outre les campagnes de vaccination qui ont débuté avant et qui continuent, s'est traduit par des programmes d'urgence pour protéger le cheptel face au déficit pluviométrique et par des subventions massives pour l'aliment de bétail, les points d'eau et les campagnes sanitaires. Et dans ce cadre, un financement de peu près de 660 millions de dollars a été fait dans ce cadre. Sa stratégie a aussi visé la modernisation accélérée des filières de lait et de viande. Et le pays a beaucoup investi dans la production locale de fourrage et dans l'amélioration génétique pour réduire sa dépendance aux importations. Et donc, dans ce cadre aussi, un programme d'amélioration de génétique a couvert à peu près 200 000 vaches laitières. Ça, c'est pour le Maroc. Si on veut parler un peu des réalisations faites au niveau de l'Algérie, la priorité a été donnée à la sécurité d'approvisionnement en lançant des vastes programmes de production locale d'aliments pour le bétail. Et donc, l'objectif était que fin 2025, 50% des besoins en concentré seront couverts. Le pays a également travaillé et œuvré en vue de développement de grandes fermes laitières intégrées. Ici, on a en cours de mise en service 2 complexes laitiers de 20 000 vaches par complexe. La stratégie algérienne a aussi procédé le pays a procédé également à des importations exceptionnelles pour stabiliser les prix, tout en renforçant les campagnes de vaccination et la modernisation de la filière avicole. Pour la Tunisie, elle a été durement frappée par une sécheresse historique et a mis en place des plans d'urgence pour l'approvisionnement en fourrage et en eau. Donc, à peu près 500 000 tonnes de fourrage ont été subventionnées pour l'année 2023. Mais il s'est aussi appuyé sur sa recherche nationale plutôt, et donc dans le but de développer des solutions innovantes, valoriser des sous-produits agricoles pour l'alimentation animale, et aussi il a mis en œuvre un certain nombre de projets de biogaz issus de déjection animale pour concilier un peu entre durabilité et sécurité alimentaire, ce qui a permis à 150 exploitations agricoles de pouvoir bénéficier de l'énergie renouvelable. La Libye, malgré le contexte un peu difficile, les efforts se sont concentrés sur la santé animale et avec l'appui de la FAO et de fonds d'adaptation, afin de contrôler les maladies transfrontalières et de réhabiliter certains pâturages et points d'eau. Et l'objectif est de préserver le cheptel existant et de soutenir les petits éleveurs. Enfin, je pense à la Mauritanie, pays à forte vocation pastorale. Plusieurs programmes structurants ont vu le jour, notamment l'appui de la Banque africaine de développement et de la Banque mondiale, qui ont visé à moderniser les abattoirs. Donc, 4 abattoirs régionaux ont été équipés par des chaînes de froid. Il y a eu le développement des banques fourragères, l'amélioration de la gouvernance des ressources pastorales, et l'accent a été mis aussi sur l'inclusion sociale, en particulier les femmes. En résumé, des progrès tangibles sont observées, donc en passant par le plus d'investissement, une meilleure protection sanitaire, des innovations adaptées aux conditions arides, mais les défis persistent, rareté de l'eau, coût élevé des intrants, ce qui nous interpelle et ce qui au fait souligne l'importance de la coopération régionale et d'une coopération régionale solide. Et merci.
Great. Thank you very much, Fazia. I actually like you to start the second round as well, because we're now going to start from regional to global, and we're going to be focusing on sort of looking into the future. I realize that we are running a little bit late, so if you could keep your answers short and concise, that would be very much appreciated. So, you know, you mentioned about Tunisia and the climate impacts, you know, on livestock systems from that, and of course the Maghreb region as a whole, as we know, is facing both, you know, climate and economic pressures. What policy measures as well as cross-border initiatives do you think are the most urgent and impactful to increase and improve the resilience of livestock systems in your region?
Okay. Merci.
That's a big question to answer in just a couple of minutes, but we're going to try.
Okay. Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup. Bon, comme j'ai dit tout à l'heure, quand on parle de la sécurité alimentaire au Maghreb, on oublie souvent que l'élevage n'est pas seulement une activité économique. C'est une question de survie pour des millions de familles rurales, un facteur de stabilité sociale et un levier stratégique face aux crises climatiques et économiques. Donc la première partie, ça nous a permis un peu de passer en revue ce qui se faisait au niveau des pays et de passer en revue les politiques nationales au niveau des différents pays de la région. Et ceci a permis au fait de souligner que les priorités au niveau des pays sont claires. Les priorités, c'est s'adapter aux aléas climatiques et réduire la dépendance aux importations alimentaires. Bon, ces politiques nationales visent toutes un même objectif plutôt, renforcer la résilience des petits éleveurs pastoraux et les plus exposés aux chocs climatiques et économiques. Donc la deuxième partie, on va, comme vous l'avez bien dit, on va se focaliser sur les priorités au niveau régional et le programme. Mais je crois qu'avant de passer aux priorités à venir au niveau régional, il serait bien de souligner et de vous parler un peu des progrès régionaux déjà réalisés au niveau de la région de Maghreb. Donc l'élevage, comme j'ai dit, ne connaît pas de frontières. C'est pourquoi l'UMA a déjà engagé avec ses partenaires des initiatives structurantes qu'il faut aujourd'hui consolider. Par exemple, dans le cadre de sa coopération avec la FAO, la UBAR, on a beaucoup travaillé sur l'élaboration des stratégies, notamment des stratégies régionales intégrées pour lutte contre les maladies transfrontalières, la sécurité alimentaire et fourragère, et aussi pour la lutte contre certaines, comme des maladies comme la PPR par exemple. Et cette démarche offre un cadre commun qu'il s'agit désormais de mettre en œuvre à travers une plateforme régionale de gestion de réserves fourragères et d'approvisionnement collectif. À côté de ces disons, progrès stratégiques, nous avons aussi des atouts institutionnels, comme l'existence de certains organes, comme la Commission ministérielle maghrébienne pour la sécurité alimentaire, qui offre une enceinte politique et technique pour harmoniser les priorités et faire converger les stratégies nationales. Nous avons aussi le comité vétérinaire maghrébin permanent et le réseau REMESA, qui constituent des mécanismes efficaces de coordination sanitaire. Ils ont permis de réaliser et de coordonner pas mal d'aspects autour de la santé animale. Donc, ces acquis-là démontrent qu'un socle institutionnel, technique et stratégique existait déjà au Maghreb. La question maintenant, ce n'est pas du tout créer de zéro, mais de capitaliser et de renforcer l'existant. Et là, je peux enchaîner sur les priorités pour l'avenir. Donc, à partir de ces acquis, 3 priorités se dégagent. Disons plutôt 4 priorités se dégagent. La première, c'est opérationnaliser les différentes stratégies, notamment la stratégie régionale foragère avec une plateforme commune de stockage, peut-être d'achat et de distribution, pour réduire la vulnérabilité face aux sécheresses et aux fluctuations des prix mondiaux. Et aussi promouvoir la recherche et le développement pour les aliments alternatifs. La deuxième priorité qui sort, c'est de renforcer le système harmonisé de la santé animale, en modernisant les outils de surveillance numérique et en créant, pourquoi pas, une banque régionale de vaccins pour répondre rapidement aux épidémies, et aussi en harmonisant les protocoles de vaccination et de réglementation des médicaments. Donc ça, c'est la deuxième priorité. La troisième priorité, ça concerne surtout le secteur pastoral et donc le développement du secteur pastoral, l'accélération de l'intégration de marchés pastoraux. Ceci peut se faire en sécurisant les couloirs de transhumance transfrontalière, en développant des mécanismes d'assurance régionale contre la sécheresse et en facilitant le commerce officiel du bétail. Et comme quatrième priorité, je pense que le développement d'un programme régional d'assurance de bétail et de filets de sécurité sera très, très, très pertinent, surtout qu'au niveau de la région, on a déjà des très bonnes expériences, notamment au niveau de Maroc, et ces expériences peuvent être diffusées et peut-être en faire une expérience régionale. Donc, en conclusion, pour relever les défis, nous devons avancer sur 2 jambes. D'une part, les politiques nationales solides et adaptées, et une coopération transfrontalière, et d'autre part, une coopération transfrontalière et régionale très renforcée. Et merci.
Great. Thank you very much, Fazia. There are a lot of really interesting, specific examples that you give, and I hope that, all of you are able to have discussions afterwards on the specifics of it and perhaps learn from each other as well. Huyan, can I come to you next? Because Africa is also facing similar pressures, right? And in fact, the latest SOFI report talked about the fact that Africa is going to face rising in food insecurity in the coming years. And we've also heard from Margaret this morning, and we know that there's been a lot of droughts and floods repeatedly in Africa over the past couple of years. So what would you think are some of the priority actions that's going to be sort of ensuring that there is sustainable livestock transformation, but there is also food security, livelihood and climate resilience in Africa?
Yeah, thank you for the question, and thank you for listing the challenges that facing the livestock sector in Africa, the climate vulnerabilities. We have also a sort of fragmented livestock systems within the continent. And as I said, as we are guided by the CAADP 2026-2035, the main idea is to go to the livestock value chains as an agri-food systems in the continent. So AU-IBAR, let me call it the flagship initiative. It will be a transformative program for the livestock in Africa. It will be, and we are already now planning it, and it will be mainly led by the regional economic communities, because the idea is to support integrated regional livestock value chains across the RECs of Africa. Through these initiatives, we are mainly targeting harmonization of the policy for the livestock investments across the RECs. Why? Because we already have the opportunity, a great opportunity by the African Continental Free Trade Area. So we need to increase the flow of the livestock and livestock products across the regional economic communities. And to do that, we need to harmonize the policies for the livestock investments in the different regions between the AU member states. The second pillar of this program is to support the data-driven decisions and create an open source dashboard for livestock value chains performance in the continent. And this is something that we are critically supporting it to happen, so that we can engage more private sector, attract the public sector for the areas of investment that they should focus on, and also coordinate all our actions. As African Union specialized technical offices are not the only players in the continent. We have FAO, we have WOHA, we have other key partners, and we need to coordinate for the priorities of the continent. The third pillar is supporting sustainable capacity building for the continent through centers of excellence that will be responsible of regular training and to be equipped for e-extensions and e-learning. The main idea is how to support the coordination between the investments in the RECs. For that, the regional economic communities will be playing a great role on coordinating those investments across the region to ensure that all the livestock inputs and products are available within Africa. And finally, support the advocacy and the knowledge management for the livestock sector. We have been attacked even today in the morning, and we need to make sure that the picture of Africa, the voice of Africa is well maintained. We are still having stunting in our children in Africa, 30.7% stunted children in Africa, and to reverse this picture, this very negative picture, we need to ensure that the animal proteins are exist in Africa, especially with the growing urban markets, with the growing population for Africa. By 2025 will be 2.5 billion, and all these needs animal protein to maintain healthy African people, to contribute to the global development that we know. So I think those are the mainly issues. And within the livestock sector, we shouldn't forget also the working animals. So IBAR is also supporting the animal welfare for all the animals in the continent through the animal welfare strategy for Africa. We are supporting the conservation of our working equids, and all this will be incorporated in our integrated regional livestock value chains in the continent. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Huyan. And Lloyd, I'd like you to talk about inter-regional collaboration within Americas as well as with other regions, and whether they can be leveraged to scale up sustainable practices and innovations around livestock systems, and how they may be able to do that.
Sure. Thank you, Thin. In terms of working with global partners, well, that's why we're here today. And we'll work with all of you here at this conference. I've seen many friends and colleagues from around the world, and thankfully we have partnerships with all of you. I see ILRI in the back, the World Farmers Organization, the World Animal Health, the Global Dairy Platform, the Dairy Sustainability Framework. There's a number of you in this room that we're working with, and but just by listing those, I'm sure I've forgotten half of them. But all the national and international associations that are involved in any kind of livestock, we're working with closely, trying to share best experiences and practices. In specific, working with the Global Dairy Platform, pay attention, Donald. And the Dairy Sustainability Framework, Brian, we've been working on carbon markets in the Americas. They came to ICA to host a regional conference on that to assess their potential, to showcase methane reduction and other climate-smart solutions, to facilitate dialogue on developing market frameworks, to explore financing mechanisms for carbon markets, because a lot of governments and a lot of ministries are very confused about how to really make this happen for their farmers. And that's something that we need to work on globally, so that there's some consistency and that there's some opportunities for our farmers to achieve some benefits there and to unlock the sector's potential on this. In addition, ICA's convened dialogues with the European Union to promote a shared understanding of sustainable livestock. The goals of this were to exchange information with a major market on regulatory frameworks, to establish economic and fiscal incentives for the adoption of new technologies, and to promote differentiated markets that represent sustainable livestock practices. A clear outcome of these dialogues is the need for the EU to understand that we do produce sustainably in the Americas before imposing lots of different regulatory burdens upon us without the appropriate consultation. So interregional cooperation globally is important, but within the Americas it's very important as well. I've mentioned what we're doing with the IDB, what we're doing with Chile and sustainability frameworks, but one initiative merits that's regional between the Americas merits some discussion. This is by one donor country, Canada, who has an interest in helping share sustainable livestock knowledge and practices with another two, Guatemala and Mexico. So in partnership with the Canadian government, EEC is working to strengthen the climate resilience and sustainability of the cattle in these regions and helping cattle ranching families, small ones, in Mexico and Guatemala through the adaptation or the adoption of climate-smart practices, inclusive approaches, and digital innovations. On climate-smart practices, EEC has been implementing a toolbox with 15 prioritized ecosystem-based adaptation practices, including drought-tolerant pastures, forage banks, rainwater harvesting, rotational grazing, composting of manure, living fences, reforestation with native species, and animal welfare improvements and low-cost biodigesters. On digital innovations, satellite technologies that not only guide daily decisions, but also track changes in vegetation, soil moisture, and pasture health after implementing sustainable practices, providing evidence of impact over time. And a lot of that you don't need a satellite for, you can do with a drone. And we're doing that in a variety of different countries. So we hope to continue working with Global Affairs Canada to build on these relationships in Mexico and in Guatemala and spread that to other parts of the region. I want to highlight one area where policy has really had an impact on reducing methane emissions, and that's in the state of California. I just happen to be from California, and the Secretary of the California Department of Food and Agriculture was here. She just left, so I'm going to cut it short. But they have been, through their policies of incentivizing and funding methane reduction practices, they're going to reduce methane emissions by 40% in the great state, the largest dairy producing state in the union. So that's another example where agriculture is part of the solution to climate challenges. So with that, I'll stop. Thank you, Thin.
Great, thank you very much. And I'm going to come back to the global. There are two speakers left, and then we will wrap up because I know that we are running short of time and we are also losing interpretation probably now as we speak. So Bonnie, looking ahead, what innovations and partnerships do you see as having the greatest potential when we're talking about, this evidence-based and science-led, livestock, sustainable livestock transformation?
Thank you, Thin. Hearing the regional presentations here on the priorities is interesting to note that the work we do actually addresses some of those. I'll start with one example here. Huam mentioned the PPR Global Eradication Campaign Program, which is led by FAO and the World Organization of Animal Health, together with the African partners. Here, earlier on, I mentioned that we are working on a thermotolerant PPR vaccine, which has shown promise, and therefore we are partnering with these global and regional organizations like AU-IBA to really tackle this devastating disease for the sheep and goats. So the partnerships are there, and we just need to strengthen those and respond to the real needs. On the other end, I also, through our work, we've seen that science-led livestock transformation requires combining innovations rather than looking at them in isolation. I did indicate in my earlier example, I talked about the dairy development program. While we use the genetics as an entry point, it is important to understand that without the animal health, without the feed, that program will not succeed. So it is important to have this integrated approach and have the solutions or the innovations integrated. In addition to that, while we drive animal productivity through these technologies, without the relevant markets, the farmers will not invest. So we need those inclusive value chains, working markets to support the livestock transformation. We also need frameworks, working and an enabling environment, even for the dairy, for example. Without the guidelines or the frameworks that support data sharing across countries, this regional platform will not succeed. So we need an enabling environment that supports this. I also want to highlight when scaling innovations, it's important to tailor-make that solution or that innovation to a specific production system. An innovation that is targeted for a mixed crop livestock intensive dairy will not work when you try and bring it to a pastoral system. So I want to underline the importance of context matters. So as researchers, we always reminding ourselves that as we generate this evidence, come up with these solutions, let's tailor them for the different environments. Partnerships matter in all this. We cannot do it without the countries. So country governments help us integrate these efforts in their priority programs. So in a nutshell, I heard Fauzia talk about feeds. Yes, I've focused on animal health and genetics, but we do work on animal feeds and looking at alternative feeds, including insect-based animal feeds. And you also mentioned insurance. We are working mainly in the pastoral systems on index-based livestock insurance. So we'd like to engage and see how some of those innovations could support your priorities. So in a nutshell, this is my presentation.
Great, thank you very much, Bonnie. I'm very glad to see that at least on this panel, there's a lot of partnerships and collaboration already coming up, and I hope that will, reach to the rest of the audience and delegates as well. Baba, back to you before we wrap this up. Now, in the context of, global livestock transformation goals, where we're talking about trade, food security, and One Health, which was mentioned multiple times this morning as well, how do you see your organization, WOAH and FAO, work together to strengthen this so that there is, the improve veterinary services and workforce competencies? How do you plan to do that?
Thank you very much, Chair. I think I would start by picking on just one of the last statement from my colleague here, that on the importance of partnership. We cannot, no single organization, be it at the global or regional, regardless of its resources, can undertake this challenge we have faced. And this just, in particular, we are going through difficult times with the drop of the global financing on animal health system, for example, on development. We are going through a challenging time, just to say the least. And perhaps more than ever, partnership and close collaboration become an imperative. Is no longer just a choice or an option. It is an imperative. And I think on the specific, and I was glad to hear my colleagues mention the importance of regional coordination, the importance of strengthening regional mechanism. And I think that is a key function of the global. I think we have the opportunity to put our strength together, to leverage each other's resources and expertise, to challenge, to empower regional organizations like IBAR, like ICA, like our organizations and coordination mechanism in Maghreb, so that they can better support the member countries. So I think it's very important. That's why I think leveraging some of the existing platforms, such as GFTAT, the global framework for transboundary animal, global framework for the transboundary animal disease control. I think this is an important mechanism FAO and WAHA can leverage to support the regional and country. It gives us the opportunity to harmonize our approaches, to pull our resources together, and to facilitate cross-border collaboration, coordination, but also learning across regions, because we have sometimes some differences between, in terms of capacity from one region to another. So having that global platform that can leverage it. We have another important platform, just framework, just to take us through a few examples. The quadripartite. Of course, we have two other key members, but again, under the quadripartite, FAO and WAHA has great opportunities to collaborate, to team up, to address zoonotic diseases, to address antimicrobial resistance threats, to address more efficiently emerging issues such as climate change. Capacity building, we said it, Director of AUI mentioned it, the importance of it. Here again, we have formidable opportunities as to put together our resources. I just take an example of the evaluation of veterinary services, of animal health systems. What about integrating the previous outcome with all these formidable FAO tools, assessment tools, being the surveillance evaluation tool, the lab mapping tool, etc., and package those outcomes and share it with the members for them to make a more optimal use and to help them prioritize the resource allocation to address the gaps. We have, when it comes to workforce development, we have a formidable packages at WAHA, be it strengthening veterinary education, day one competencies, being in supporting veterinary legislation, be it on supporting public-private partnership. By the way, we had a great partnership with AUI in Africa to help directors of veterinary services see opportunities in the public-private partnership to strengthen their One Health. So just to say again, leveraging global frameworks, making an optimal use of those frameworks, teaming up, putting up our expertise and resources to strengthen the capacity of our members, but also putting our efforts together to mobilize resources to help to channel that to our regions and our member countries to help them again make an optimal use of their livestock systems. I will stop there.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can we give a round of applause to our speakers, please? And I'm afraid we do not have time for Q&A, just because we are running quite late. There are side events, and I also do not want to keep you from your lunch any longer. But before we go on a lunch break, just a couple of announcements. There are two side events that are about to be starting now. Side event 1 is on rangelands and pastoralism, what role for the private sector, and it will be in the Sheikh Zayed Center, which is on the ground floor of this building. And then side event 2 is going to be in Iran Room. It's the launch of the FAO LEAP guidelines on ecosystem services and circular bioeconomy. LEAP stands for Livestock Environmental Assessment and Performance. Well, I hope you have a fantastic meal and great conversations, and I hope you'll be able to speak to the speakers, even though there wasn't time for Q&A, and I will see you all back here at 2 o'clock sharp. Thank you very much. Sorry about the time.